These features are not going to be in Baldur's Gate 3. So, in Baldur's Gate 3, there's a lot of questions that came out in the most recent interviews about, hey, is this going to be in the game? Hey, what about this? Was there anything that was cut from production that you were originally going to do, but didn't actually end up doing? And before any of that, we have to look at probably the best meme that I've seen all week regarding Baldur's Gate 3, a reference to a very, very old interview, and I absolutely love it. But anyways, back into the features that actually aren't going to be cut. Someone asked, what are some things that are not in there that you wanted to get in there, or something to that degree? And there's a few things that they did mention. One of those things that they mentioned was that there is going to be no dodge and readying action when it comes to release. These things could be added in through mods, since the modding support will be rather strong. And if those mods are popular, they'll more than likely add it to the game anyways. But as of right now, it's just something that they didn't get into the game, which is unfortunate, but I doubt that dodging and readying action would have made a significant difference in the enjoyment of the game that we will have once it's released. Another thing that was not added, which I know a lot of people definitely did ask about, was rolling for stats. Now, rolling for stats is something they do not have in the game at all. I believe the only system that they have in the game for stats as of right now is actually point buy. I could be misremembering, since it has been quite a long time since I played when early access came out, which I believe was almost 3 years ago at this point. But they won't have any rolling. And I get to a certain extent why that may happen, right? Because there's a lot of different systems that you can have when it comes to actually rolling your stats, whether it be 3d6 or 4d6 drop the lowest, etc., etc., etc. And then you have to go into factoring in the balance aspects of that. If you're going to be rolling until you get really, really good stats and not take, like, say, the first ones that you get, then you'll end up having to balance the encounter so that you're not whipping out +4, +5 at level 1 without proficiency bonus and kind of just steamrolling through the game. There needs to be some sort of challenge there, and they didn't want to balance that around the ability of rolling stats. At least that's my guess to what their reasoning for not putting it in. They did say it just didn't come around to their production time. That is something that they got to, and they were just too busy with other things. So they said, hey, the point buy system is working. There's no real reason to have rolling in right now. So let's just move past this and focus on other things, which is perfectly acceptable. There's a lot of other things that they can focus in when developing a game. Now, the biggest disappointing one to me, and I completely understand why it was taken out of the game, and that is, or not even put into the game at all, that is there will be no Dungeon Master tools. And I get it. They said that when thinking about Dungeon Master tools, when they were going to add them in, whether or not they were going to create that system for people to be able to make their own maps, their own things, and set up the stuff that they want so that they can run a game through Baldur's Gate 3. They just said, when looking at that and how long it would possibly take to make those systems in the game to be able to have a full-fledged Dungeon Master tool, that it was just too much for them to consider. It probably would take a year or two just to set up. They did say that they will leave it to modders. If modders want to take on and make Dungeon Master tools, they absolutely can. But they said even for modders, even teams of modders that come together to set this up, it is a very, very huge undertaking to set a whole system up that will run fluidly and be able to run games with others. And I totally get it. That's got to be a huge undertaking. And if they delayed the game for some Dungeon Master tools, or maybe they'll end up adding it later, we never know, it might come up. I'm sure they have other things planned before even considering Dungeon Master tools. It would probably have delayed the game by another year or two at the very minimum. That Dungeon Master tools are probably very complex to be able to set up inside their own game. And there is one last thing that someone asked is the game going to be Steam Deck verified, and are we going to be able to play it on the Steam Deck? And the answer to that is currently no. They are working on getting it Steam Deck verified so that you can play it on Steam Deck if you have one. But in the meantime, they do not have a current build that is very stable on the Steam Deck that is, verified and being able to push. They are currently working on that. It might come out soon. It might come out in a few months. They haven't really gave exact details on when that's going to happen, but it is one of their priorities for what they want to do. But that'll be all for now. There's a few more things that I want to talk about that is coming from that interview, but we're getting pretty close to that release. And man, I'm so excited. I'll see you guys later. Bye.